photographing the way I do, but with my colors, this will change everything.
I got to see each frame, each position of its wing, and they're so beautiful that I have never seen before.
Being able to move quickly and working at my brain's pace and getting those shots in the moment. Having this camera allows you to go out and create the way you want to create.
Until you use it, you cannot even imagine what you have missed.
It's something I've never seen before in my entire life. It's something totally different.
Nikon Z6 III. Outperform.
Introducing ISO Color Edge. Precision is essential for any professional working with images. Whether you're an artist, a retoucher, or a visual effects specialist, you need to know that what you see at the start of a project is precisely what you'll get at the end. Color Edge monitors give consistent, reliable accuracy that guarantee no surprises within your color workflow. So what you see in real life is what you see on screen, and what you see on screen is what you see in real life. That's precisely why professionals all over the world trust ISO Color Edge for their image creation. ISO Color Edge. Discover living, breathing color.
Good evening and welcome to the first of the 2025 Australian Photographic Prize live judging events. Tonight we have the Wedding Creative category. We're thrilled to have you join us from wherever you are across the world as we celebrate the incredible artistry and skill of photography. I'm Robin Campbell, the Foundation Director of the Australian Photographic Prize, and I'll be your host for tonight's event. I've been invited here on behalf of Daniel Bingham, the 2025 Competition Director. Also working hard to make this event a reality is our Director of Judging, Chris Anderson, who has expertly curated an incredible panel of judges that you'll be hearing from tonight and for the rest of the week. And of course, Nathan Bingham, who will be expertly running our live stream. Before we begin, in Australia, we have a custom that is performed at the beginning of meetings that bring people together. It's called the Acknowledgement of Country. I'd like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri Woi Wurrung people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional custodians of the land on which this event is hosted today. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. The Australian Photographic Prize and all the opportunities that come with it would not be possible without the generous support of our sponsors. We'd like to thank the following organisations for their ongoing support. Nikon Australia. They're our major sponsor and they're awarding the overall winner $5,000 in Nikon product. Thank you so much to Julie, Kylie, and the Nikon Australia team. And to our division sponsors, AZO, thank you so much. They're sponsoring the 2025 Creative Photographer of the Year division with an AZO monitor valued at over $2,500. Thank you, AZO. Thank you to KL and Godox for sponsoring the Classic division and Ilford for sponsoring our Single Capture division. Please show them your appreciation by visiting their websites, tagging them in your posts, and letting them know that their support makes a difference. So here's how tonight will run. Each image finalist in the Wedding Creative category will be presented to our panel of expert judges who will provide live commentary and feedback. Individual image scores will be displayed. At the end of the session, the winner will be selected offline by a panel of our judges from the top 5 scoring entries. First, second, and third places will be announced during our live awards event next Sunday. So now I have the pleasure of introducing you to our judging panel for this evening, which includes our wonderful panel mentor and Director of Judging, Chris Anderson. Over to you, Chris.
Hey everyone, welcome to the very first live judging session for the Australian Photographic Prize 2025. Thanks, Robin, for that intro. That's really cool. It's really good to have everyone here for this. We're all really excited. Hopefully, everyone is getting excited about entries, watching results come in. There's been so much conversation online and so many social media posts and that sort of thing. So it's good to see everyone really excited. So we're here today to judge the wedding creative category. And we've got a set of 7 spectacular judges, very skilled in the wedding genre, and a truly international panel as well, which is going to be fantastic. We're going to start, though, by going through a slideshow of the entries in the wedding creative division. So big thanks to our scribe, Daniel. If you could kick that off, that would be great. Fantastic. Now, if you're at home and you notice some of those numbers looked really strange, like 25 out of 22, don't freak out. All the images are there. It's like a little bug with our numbering. You'll also see there's only 22 images in this category. This is our smallest category for the Australian Photographic Prize this year. It's one that we added a couple of weeks into after entries had opened. So we've got a few fewer images this year. We're going to get our judges to have a look at potential conflicts now. And while they're doing that, I'm going to tell you a bit more about this category. So this is the wedding creative category, and this is images captured of real couples, family members, and or guests at genuine wedding related events. So images can be of a single person, a couple, or a group, and they may include animals. The main focus of the image should be of people and wedding related at an event like a hens or a bucks party, a wedding ceremony or a reception, or even a trash the dress session. If there's an engagement session, those images might be better suited in the family category. Now, this is also part of the AZO creative division. And in the creative division, all of the composite, like we can do all the tools of composite images. So thanks again to our category sponsor, AZO, who are putting up, oh, sorry, our division sponsor, AZO, to put a really fantastic prize on offer. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our judges now. So again, we have 7 judges. I have the tiniest writing on a little piece of paper, and I'm an old person now. So if I get this wrong, I'm really sorry. I'm going to start with Christopher Ian. Christopher's a very experienced judge. He has been attending live judging since 1981, and he's walked away with more than his fair share of prizes, including being the Australian Portrait Photographer of the Year and the Australian Documentary Photographer of the Year. So thanks, Christopher. It's excellent to have you here. We've also got Gemma Sains. Gemma is from the UK. So she's a very rare double fellowship holder with the Societies of Wedding and Portrait Photographers in the UK. She's an experienced judge and educator. I've had the pleasure of seeing the panels that she had for her fellowship as well, and they're both pretty incredible. We've got Johan van Kaan from New Zealand, who assures me the correct way to pronounce his first name is Your Highness, but I'm going to call him Johan for this. And now he's laughing because this is out on the internet forever. Johan calls himself a caffeinated photographer and closet poet. But when he's not writing stuff like that, he is a really accomplished wedding and portrait photographer. And he's actually in New Zealand for the NZIPP Iris Awards. There's a special award they have every year called the Ian Poole Award for people's favorite judge, and he's won that twice. So, Johan, I'm sorry, Your Highness, it's really great to have you here. We've also got Kat Ferguson. as well as being a professional photographer with 17 years of experience. She's a qualified journalist. She's an ambassador for Imogen. She's also the founder of Photo Geek, which is an excellent online resource for photographers. So, Kat, super cool to have you here. Matt Palmer, who you'll see is the man with the beanie. Matt he's a super experienced judge. He's won over 200 awards across all manner of genres, including wedding and documentary and landscape, and currently runs the Alpine Light Gallery in Victoria with his wife. Can I say wife now? You're married. Hey, with your wife, Mika Boynton. So welcome, Matt. Naomi Ryder has the best bio of anyone. She has 2 geriatric dogs, 3 kids, 1 husband, and 1 camera. She gives them all instructions, but only the camera listens to her. Naomi is an accomplished portrait and wedding photographer from New South Wales. Thanks for joining us, Naomi. And we're going to finish up with Vicky McKay, who has just returned from London. Like, seriously, she was at the National Portrait Gallery 48 hours ago. She's flown home to Australia and she's joining us on Judging Now. She's got 30 years of experience in portraiture, and including several decades as a working wedding photographer. So thanks, Vicky. It's excellent to have you here. If you haven't figured it out, this is a pretty heavy duty panel of excellent judges. So I cannot wait to see how they go with our images today. So judges, you all good to go? Everyone happy? Fantastic. Let's kick this off, everyone, for the Australian Photographic Prize 2025. Daniel, can we get our first image, please? Oh, you know what's really important, everyone? Is I actually need to put some judges on the panel. That's a really, really important step in this process that I haven't done. So how embarrassing for me. We're going to start our panel off today. Can I get on the panel? Christopher Ian, Johan, we're going to get you on. Kat Ferguson, Matt, we'll get you to join, and Naomi. And there you go. That is my one mistake I'm allowed to make as a panel mentor, and I'm all done now. I was wondering, why are their scores not coming in? It's because I haven't put anyone on the panel yet. So judges, if you can have a look, and if you're on the panel, please score your image. Thank you, judges. For our first image, we have an 80, a silver award. Fantastic. Can I get a comment from you, please, Matt?
Sure. I think the use of off-camera lighting to illuminate the couple and give them contrasts with the bridal group there is a really well done technique. I think in the creative category, you could possibly even push it a little bit further and perhaps edit to give a bit more atmosphere, and could even experiment perhaps with like a panoramic crop or something to accentuate the shape of the image as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. That's really good feedback. Can we get our next image, please? Thank you, judges. We have a 78, highly commended. And congrats to the photographer for the highly commended award. Can I get, let's see, let's go to Naomi for a comment, please.
This is a really, really fun use of like playing with textures and symmetry and pattern, and they're couple are actually engaged in a really sweet moment, and it's a got there's beautiful depth in highlights, and there's shadow detail where there needs to be shadow detail, and the dark parts on either side of the couple actually really accentuate the couple and allow them to come forward in the frame. So I think it's a lovely um, creative take on a wedding photo.
Excellent. Thanks, Naomi. Let's go on to our next image, please. And we have a score of 74. Matt, can I come back to you for a comment on this one, please?
Sure. So I think this has a really nice vintage kind of nostalgic feel to it. And that works really well. I think what could lift it higher is leaning into that even further. Since this is in the creative category, you could add texture. You could potentially use items in the background or something like that that could help to flesh out the story of who this person is as well.
Brilliant. Thank you, Matt. Let's go on to our next image, please. And we've got pretty even scoring across the board. That's an 81 silver award. So, Kat, could I come to you for a comment, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, this is a really pleasing, pleasant image. Very intentional. The choice of the blue against the orange and warm tones is a lovely sort of color harmony, color balance there. Really nicely controlled lighting on the couple, posed and poised. Congratulations. Certainly worthy of a silver award.
Is there anything that you'd recommend to the photographer to help raise this up?
Personally, I found the couple of little notches in the brickwork there on either edge of the frame at the top a little bit distracting. So maybe look at cropping those out, and then that would also help sort of further exaggerate that elongation that's going on in the center there.
Brilliant. Thanks, Kat. That's great. I'm going to keep the judges moving through the panel a little bit to make sure everyone gets some time. So, Kat, don't take it personally. That was a good comment, but I'm going to give you a little break for a second. And Johan, I'm going to give you a break as well. So let's welcome Gemma and Vicky onto the panel, please. And then Daniel, if we could get our next image, please. All right, well, we have a score of 79, highly commended. Are we all happy with that?
I'm actually happy. I'd love to have a chat about this. Can we talk?
As in, are you challenging Naomi?
Yes.
Excellent. How about you say, I'd like to challenge this, please?
I'd like to challenge this, please.
Fabulous. All right, so we're going to go into a challenge process for this image. Naomi, you can take it away.
This is actually, it's such a beautiful illustration of a moment and a bit of quiet and peacefulness with this couple. You get this beautiful sense of space and the location that they're in. And I think the shadows are like the couple are placed so perfectly in that arch of in the canopy of the trees. Their shadows work as beautiful, strong leading lines that take you straight into where that couple is. And it's just got such a gentle energy to it, even though it's quite dark and moody and all of that sort of stuff. But I think that this is actually definitely worthy of sitting in the award range. And I actually encourage you all to have another look at it um, and have a think about it, please.
Excellent. Thanks, Naomi. Christopher, we're going to come to you next.
The disappointment here is that it's too wide. There's too much detail. There's too much territory devoted to nothingness. And I think in the days of a matted photo, this would be a perfect circle because your trees are contributing into that curve. It's just stretched out too much. But look, I love the lighting and I'm listening to people.
All right, brilliant. Vicky, I'm going to come to you for a comment, please.
Thank you. I put this in the highly commended. I think it's a beautiful image. I agree totally with that. What I thought was if it would soften that light just a little, it would have been like moonlight to me, and that would have just raised it even further. But no, it is beautiful.
Vicky, I'm afraid we kind of lost you there. I think your internet's breaking up, which is a shame. So I'm going to move on, actually. Matt, can I get you to make a comment, please?
Yeah, I was in support of this image at 81. It is a very simple image, but there are some things that have been done, I thought, well enough to put it into the silver range. So, for example, with a black and white like this, it's very easy to start losing skin tones in that kind of late afternoon sky. And I think that the backlighting, while it is a fairly standard wedding technique these days, has been used really beautifully here. You're not losing anything to any highlights or anything like that. The flash is powered perfectly to get that little edge on the skin there and differentiate them from the background. Actually, I think Chris has a really interesting idea about the framing, but it doesn't bother me so much that I'd push it down a score range. But I do think that there's definitely a place for images like this, even if there isn't that much in the outer areas of the image. A lot of people don't really want a wedding photo that just has their huge faces up on the wall, and this is a really elegant way that this couple could have a piece that's about them that's also a bit understated.
Brilliant. Thank you, Matt. Okay, Naomi, we're going to come back to you for a right of reply.
Yeah, look, Chris, I think your idea of the circular crop would work really well. In this case, the photographer has chosen to use a landscape crop, and I think it definitely works really, really well for this image. As Matt's pointed out, there's actually, it does work really beautifully as a little bit more of an environmental wedding portrait as opposed to an in-your-face wedding portrait. There's shadow detail in all of the dark areas all the way through to the edge. And yeah, so I think that I definitely think that this needs to come up into the silver range.
Brilliant. Thanks, Naomi. Naomi, you're going to hold your score where it is. All the other judges, please rescore. And congratulations to the photographer on a silver award with 81. Fabulous work, Naomi. Well done. Can we have our next image, please? All right, and we have a score of 77, highly commended. Gemma, could I come to you for a comment on this image, please?
Yeah, it's a really fun image. Hi, Chris, sorry. It's a really fun image. I really enjoy that they've used the reflection from a water on the grating. I think that to feel like to bring this up into like a slightly higher, I would have looked at making the couple maybe a little bit more central, or looking at the crop along the bottom. It kind of distracted me slightly where the grating finished. So if that was cropped in a little bit, that might have brought it up a little bit for me.
All right, brilliant. Thanks, Gemma. Let's go to our next image, please. All right, and we have a score of 75, highly commended. Matt, I would love to, oh, excellent, love to come to you for a comment on this one, please.
Yeah, I think the photographer's done pretty well overall in shooting in this harsh sunlight. Beautiful exposure on the face and expression on the bride. I think what would improve it is if there were a little bit more of a connection between the couple. So I understand the mirror concept, but it would be really lovely to see him looking back with the same kind of warmth that she has in that mirror. So that would help improve it.
Brilliant. Thank you, Matt. We'll go to our next image, please. All right, and we have a score of 78, highly commended. Congratulations to the photographer. Um, Naomi, you're right on the average for that one. Have you got a comment for the photographer?
When I figure out to unmute myself. Yeah, this photographer's really put a lot of thought into composition and symmetry, and some really lovely negative space. The use of the silhouettes really great. I think that to bring this up a little bit further, some of the symmetry is actually just a little bit off. And looking at it for an image like this with such little visual information, as in there's the really bold shadows and bold highlights. I think I'd want to see that the symmetry is absolutely picture perfect from one side to the next, because that's what it looks like it should be doing. But other than that, yeah, it's a really lovely use of space and storytelling.
Excellent. Thanks, Naomi. Christopher, did you have a quick comment you wanted to add?
Yes, I think you've captured in a silhouette the nervous energy of a performer. I mean, this is a person who's coming down the stairs fiddling with her flowers, and she leaves inspirationally looking forward. I think that's amazing how you've done that, considering it's a silhouette.
Excellent. Thanks, Christopher. All right, before we go on to our next image, we're going to keep judges moving through. So Matt and Naomi, we're going to give you both a little bit of a break. And let's bring Johan and, I'm sorry, Your Highness, let's bring Johan and Kat Ferguson back on, please. And then let's go on to our next image, please. Excellent work. We have a current score of 89, silver with distinction, but we have a couple of judges who are up in the 90s. So, gents, would either of you prefer to be the one to take this elective challenge? All right, I'm going to pick on you then, if you're not going to. Actually, no. Would anyone like to challenge this? Christopher. Brilliant. Christopher, you're on 92.
Chris, can I rescore this?
No, you no, no, you may not, because it is an elective challenge. You've got
That's
to
why I
do
didn't
all
want
the
to.
you've got to do all the work to get everyone else to do the rescoring.
All right. Now we're used to deceased people being referred to in photos on walls, photos in hands, and the people commitment is there, but is it? Here you've managed to get the commitment of an intense group of men who are all reflecting on the fact that one of their friends is no longer there, whether it's a relative or what. The intense lighting, you've got socket lighting, which is just, it's morbid. It's brilliantly morbid. And yet the sparkling light shows you that's where that person is. They're watching down on this image. Every single person's committed to this photo. I cannot believe how much effort you've put into arranging, but then getting the commitment out of everyone. And I can only say that the intensity of the person in that frame has brought that into everyone's face. So it's brilliant work. And your printing and your lighting, exquisite. It really should be a higher goal. I was a bit timid at 92, but I'm hoping others will jump in now.
All right, since we're talking about gold, we're probably going to come to most of the judges, if not all. So I'm going to go to Kat Ferguson next for a comment, please. You got to come off mute, Kat. Sorry.
Thanks, Chris. And thanks, Christopher, too, for challenging. I was sitting on 88, the silver with distinction, and I think I was conservative. I am quite happy to come up into the gold range. If you could just help me understand a little bit, or any ideas you have maybe for that second single door that's there. I'm not quite catching the story of that, but certainly everything else is, yes, beautifully done and controlled. I read the photo of the older gentleman as being the patriarch, and he's missing, and these are all his potentially his sons and grandsons. So certainly, yeah, there's a lot of emotion here. This is a family heirloom piece. It extends far beyond just a wedding portrait. So yeah, certainly congratulations, and I'm very happy to come up to gold. This is beautifully done. Well done.
Thanks, Kat. Vicky.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I love this photo. For me, it was the door, as Kat just mentioned, was slightly out. But the more I look at it and the more I listen to the others, the more I see in it. It's a beautifully crafted photograph. So yeah, I will be coming up.
Brilliant. Johan, you were with Christopher not far off him.
Yeah, and I apologize to Chris for not putting my hand up to speak in his place, because I also would like to raise my score. I gave it a 91, and I felt that I was being a little bit tight on that after I submitted it. I felt my heart pounding with the power of this image. What I love is the details. The bearded people are on one side, the unbearded people are on the other side. Does that mean anything? I don't know, but it was a thought, and it's been manifested. I love the little gap in the door because it suggests a world beyond this room where the rest of the happy party is. So I actually see it as a bonus in this image. The symmetry of it and the asymmetry with the formation of the people, the strength of each person's pose. They are owning their own positions. The photographer hasn't gone round and tweaked the ties to make them all perfect. I particularly refer to man number 3, whose tie is way over on his right. And it's given grit to the image. And the lack of an overzealous smile, you know, the seriousness of this, the gravity that sits there, the gravity of this image alone, and the printing and the expressions, that deserves at least a mid-90s. I think I might be talking myself up a lot. Yeah.
All right, thanks, Johan. Gemma, have you got anything you want to add?
Yeah, yes, I do, Chris. I sat in the silver distinction. I did really want to go up into the gold myself when I was looking at this image. There was a couple of elements that was kind of holding me back slightly. One which was a little bit distracting, as mentioned before, was the doorway, and the guy sitting down on, as you're looking at it on the right hand side, his round his foot, there's some refining on editing that would potentially kind of need doing. It's like something's been edited around the foot and it's kind of blended into the shoe, and that was what was holding me back. But I've listened to my other judges, and I'll reconsider.
All right, thanks, Gemma. Christopher, back to you.
What we're looking at is a master craftsman. I would love to see this as a print because the detail in the lower third or 20% is brilliant. It's just enough supportive detail. How you got the highlights without them going overblown in the top. It's almost like you've done a HDR perfectly. But if we took elements out, we would say this is a killer father-son photo. There is a killer. And you think the only smiling person is the person in the frame, the person who's left us. So the intensity, the heirloom factor, we all shoot weddings because we want the album to be owned. We want that portrait to be owned beyond the life of the wedding couple so that their children do. This is going to be held on to for generations. I really wish I'd given this a gold distinction. Sorry, my voice is back.
Thank you, Christopher. I have a unique ability as a panel mentor to initiate a panel mentors challenge if there's a sense from the panel that we're not doing everything quite right, which I'm going to do now, and that means all judges can please rescore, including you, Christopher. And we have a 95, gold with distinction. Well done to the photographer. That's pretty incredible. Whew. All right. Shake that out, everyone. It's hard to come back after an image like that. Let's take a minute and then we'll go on to our next image, please. Judges, get those scores in, please. We have an 82 silver award. Congratulations to the photographer. Could I get a comment from Johan, please?
Yes. There's a wonderful pyramid happening here with these gents. They're strong and staunch. There's a little bit of incongruity in there in that there's 4 people but 5 drinks. They're holding cigars and they don't quite feel like they actually own those cigars. Those cigars feel like props in the photograph. If those things had been addressed, then it would be a much stronger image. Yeah, and maybe a simpler background would have helped it a bit. But I love the very forward nature of it, and the lighting is really good. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks, Johan. Let's go on to our next image, please. Excellent. We have an 81 silver award. Could I get a comment from you, please, Kat?
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations to the photographer. Yeah, to take this even further, just have a look at the crop. So we've got a lot of black negative space here, and we're quite tight at the bottom. It'd be great to have a little more breathing space at the bottom there, and then at the same time, maybe even bring us even in closer into this moment with this couple, which is a really delicate, meaningful, feels very genuine moment, despite that, the fact that it's clearly set up, but beautifully done. Yeah, maybe even, a circular crop would help elevate this as well. But yeah, nicely done. Keep going. Just have a double check of those, your positioning and your cropping.
All right. Brilliant. Thank you, Kat. Let's go on to our next image, please. All right. We have an 86 silver with distinction. Are we all happy with that?
I'll challenge that, Chris.
You're on 92, Gemma. I was hoping you would say that. Take it away.
I really enjoy this image. I feel that the color harmony works very well, and I'd like to have a listen to what some of my other judges are thinking, and let me see if I can convince you.
All right. Short and sweet. Johan, you're at the other end of the scale.
Yeah, and my apologies for that. Yeah, I gave it a silver, and I am very happy to come up. I looked at the image and was a little bit concerned about the lack of sharpness, but I hadn't really gone through the process of thinking how it was taken, and it most likely was taken with a drone, which has its quality limits anyway. So to achieve that range of tones and colors all the way through, that's quite a skill. And then the placement of the subject through the photograph is perfect. The light off in the corner suggests a hope in the future, all those sorts of things. They've managed to duck the reeds on the back. So I think they've done a really good job. And I think I was a bit tight on in the early 80s, and I'll come up.
Excellent. Thanks, Johan. Christopher.
My goodness, I was going to give this gold. Only the major problem is cropping. The last 20% on the left is actually pulling down the effect. You've got a natural vignette with the vegetation. If you kept that almost square with a couple just slightly off center, your highlight areas in one corner, your dark corners, your redness finishes and that, I just don't know why we've got that last 20% on the left, because it's pulling it down. But I love this photo, I really do. That's why I wanted to be silver distinction.
Excellent. Thanks, Christopher. Kat, did you have something you want to add?
Yes, I do. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, this is beautifully done. I'm sitting in a silver at 83, and I am happy to come up with silver with distinction. The main thing that was actually holding me back is I agree with Christopher with the cropping. It could definitely benefit from that little part, but just the positioning mainly of the male, the groom in this shot, his feet feel very unnatural, like they're giving me sort of Wicked Witch of the West vibes squished under the house. Whereas she's very delicate and natural. So I feel that was the only thing that held me back, and certainly everything else is beautiful, and I'm listening, and I'm, happy to come up to silver with distinction.
Amazing. Thanks, Kat. Gemma, let's come back to you for a right of reply.
So yeah, thanks everyone. I mean, I didn't really need to say too much at the beginning. I think you'd managed to talk yourselves up a little bit. I understand with regards to the cropping, but we're not saying it's perfect, but we're saying it's outstanding. So I think that this does sit firmly within that gold section. Again, same with the gentleman. I did see, as you said, like the feet placement, and it could have been done a little bit softer, but overall, when we're looking at the image as a whole, I believe that this does sit firmly within that gold category.
Brilliant. Thank you, Gemma. All right, Gemma, you're going to hold your score steady. Everyone else, you can please rescore. And we've moved up, 89, silver with distinction. Excellent work. All right, we're going to do a little judge change and keep things moving. Christopher, you have been on every image so far, so we're going to give you a little break. And Gemma, you might be tired after that challenge. We'll give you a break as well. Matt and Naomi, we'll welcome you both back to the panel. And then Daniel, can we grab our next image, please? And we have an 83 silver award. Very even scoring across the panel. Naomi, have you got a comment for the photographer?
Yeah, this is a really, really lovely use of composition. The couple are positioned perfectly in that doorway. The lighting is beautifully controlled. It's a gorgeous silhouette, and there's just that little bit of detail so that you get a sense of the texture in the bride's dress, and you can see a little bit of expression in the groom's face. Is really lovely. I think to lift this higher, I would have when I zoomed in, you can see so much like just the marks in the building. This is the wedding creative category, so there's no limit on you just retouching and things. So to tidy it up and take out some of those dirty marks and things on the wall and on the ceiling there would really, really have elevated this to the next level. But definitely a lovely, lovely execution by the photographer. You should be very, very pleased with what you've created.
Brilliant. Thanks, Naomi. Johan, did you have a quick comment you wanted to add there? Johan is busy learning how to use the mute button.
Here we go. I agree that there could have been a bit of cleanup on it. for some reason, the groom's flowers sort of protrude quite dominantly into that wonderful space between them, and it would have been simple just to take them off and given it a more organic feel. But lovely layout. I'm very pleased they used an oval. Very, very pleased about that. Yeah, very appropriate.
Excellent. And some nods from the judges on that, which is great. Can we get our next image, please? All right. And we have a 90, a gold award. And we have, is there anyone that would like, we have several judges in the 90s. Are we all happy with the gold award? Would anyone like to challenge this? All right, I'm going to do a panel chairs challenge because we have 3 judges on gold, and I'd like to hear from everyone, please. So, Vicky, we're going to start with you.
I love this. It's quirky, it's original, it's creative. That's what this is about. So they've ticked all the boxes. I love the color palette. I love that modern, quirky lamp in the face. It's just really beautifully done. In fact, I wish I may have scored slightly higher. This is a beautiful image.
Excellent. Johan.
I agree. This is a stunning image. The attention to detail is insane. If you look at how the pattern falls within the frame of the image, the distances and all the mathematics of it is outstanding. And the colors, even actually when you've got the post that runs just in the right part of the back of the couch, and then the join is in a clear space, then the orange join at the top is in an orange space. It's quite stunning how they've achieved this wonderful sense of balance and irony, because you really, really want to know who this guy is, and you get a feeling that sometimes he just gets blocked out. It's quite strong, and yeah, I gave it a high silver distinction, but I think I was being a bit light, really. I'm happy to go up.
Excellent. Thanks, Johan. I was going to go to Katrina, but it looks like her internet might be in trouble. No, it's back. Excellent. Kat, can I get a comment from you, please?
Sure, Chris. Yeah, this is absolutely a striking image. The geometric shapes and the triangles contrasted with the ovals and the curves is all very lovely. I agree with everything the judges have said. I'm at gold. I'm 90. And I'm really happy with it there. I think the photographer will be wrapped with that. I have nothing to say other than congratulations. This is a great image.
Excellent. Thanks, Kat. Matt, have you got some feedback here?
Yeah, so I was in silver distinction as well, and I'm happy to go up. One of the things that really tickled me was the impreciseness of his buttons on his jacket or on the chest coat thing, and how they were angular, like the background is also angular, and how they kind of tend to dance around on the front there. I think that was a really lovely detail, intended or not. I think probably what held me back initially was probably that it's a little bit emotionless, but that's not necessarily a requirement of a gold. It can simply be confidently original, and it certainly is that. So I'm going to come up to gold. This is not something that would hold me back from gold at all, but if the photographer is listening, there is a little bit of the couch in the very bottom right edge that's a little bit lighter, and it's just, we're talking gold, so if that's something you want to tidy up at some point, that's great, but it's superb.
Excellent. Thanks, Matt. We are talking about gold. Naomi, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, this is really fun. This is like um Pixar meets like Tetris. It's like you've got this beautiful, very, very clever blend of organic shapes and geometric shapes, and so much attention paid to the use of the color. And the color use is just really simple. And the thing that is just like the real punch is that rose and that pose, and that it is very, very clever, and it's this beautifully balanced um, composition, and there's so many lines and shapes and so much movement, and this poor groom, like, he's about to walk down into the light of the beginning of the rest of his life. And yeah, this is a fun, quirky image, and there's beautiful attention to detail, and it's yeah, I just think this definitely deserves to be in gold. So I'm really glad that this is where we're starting.
All right, excellent. Now, this was a panel chairs challenge just because we had 3 folks on gold. So I will now invite everyone to rescore. And we have a 93 gold award. Congratulations to the photographer. All right, again, shake this one off, and let's go on to our next image, please. Okay, and we have an 80 silver award. Are we all happy with that? Judges?
I know I'm
Okay.
Naomi, what's
well, I know that we've got a little bit of a spread that's
sorry,
around.
are you challenging Naomi?
I'm actually really happy with the score, but
All right.
I don't know what yes.
Vicky, your hand is up. Are you challenging?
Yeah, I'd like to
Excellent.
challenge.
All right, judges. So just when we're challenging, I need you to come off mute and say really decisively, really quickly, I'd like to challenge, please, so that we can move forward. Vicky, the challenge is all yours. Take it away.
Okay, thank you. What I love about this, again, this is the creative category. So that's what I'm looking for when I'm looking at the images, first and foremost. And what I can see in this is that on the right-hand side, there's the high of the day, the high of the wedding. They've done that together, and they're heading down into the rest of their lives, into those grey areas, but they're doing it together. And that was what struck me. I thought that was so clever, the story. So I'd really like the other judges to take another look and just see if they think it's worth that little bit more. I think it's been beautifully done.
All right, thanks, Vicky. Johan.
Yeah, I gave this a mark on a 72, and it could be considered quite low. There was 2 things that bothered me quite strongly. One was when I came in close, I really wanted them to be crystal sharp, and they weren't. I could possibly forgive that for the ethereal, cloudy nature of it all, but I feel very strongly. I strongly loved the panoramic look. I think that suits this image entirely. But I feel that the last 20% of it, the bright, bright part of it, keeps pulling me away from where I want to be, which is with them. And I'm over in this bright area, and there's no reward for being there. In fact, it hurts. So I'd love to just chop it through the end of that large cloud and crop it out. And when I need to do that to a photograph to enjoy it, I sort of struggle to get higher. I can be talked up though. I have got listening ears on.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Johan. Matt, you're kind of right in the middle.
Yeah, I'm right in the middle because I agree with everything that's been said.
Excellent. All right, Vicky, let's come back to you for a right of reply.
Okay, thank you. Johannes, you with them writing something. In my view of it, they've had their day. It was amazing, and this is them now going to the rest of life. So yes, it could have been cropped a little bit more. I still think it's worth a silver with distinction. I think they've done what we've asked. They've given us a story. They've been creative. It's not really like that just to think about that.
All right, thanks, Vicky. Your audio was breaking up a little bit, but I think we have the gist. So, Vicky, you're going to hold your score steady, and everyone else can rescore, please. All right, and we've moved by 1 point up. We have an 81 silver award. Congratulations to the photographer. Now let's do a little bit of judge shuffling. So, Vicky, that was a good challenge. Your internet is not very happy. I'm going to give you a little break and give your internet a break, and we'll bring Gemma on instead. And then can we go on to our next image, please? We have an 82 silver award. Again, pretty even scoring all across the board here. Kat, I'd love to get a comment from you, please.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Yeah, this is a really nice image, well worthy of a silver award. I'm appreciating the sort of silver allied look of this image as well, the treatment. But obviously, just taken into this moment that is presumably windy and rainy and cold, and to anyone else on any other day, miserable. But this couple is totally believable that they just don't even care. They're making the most of it regardless. So thanks for getting out there and bringing us into this moment that feels really real. And well done on your silver award. It's worthy. Nice positioning too in the frame with the leading lines and position there on the third. Well done.
Excellent. Fab comments, Kat. Let's go on to our next image, please. Right. We have an initial score of 86 silver with distinction. And I think we might be hearing from someone on the panel.
Yeah, I'll challenge.
Fantastic, Matt.
What an image to get to talk about. So I think, first of all, the actual technique in camera work here is immaculate. The detailing on both the groom, well, particularly the groom and the bride, is beautiful. Even just having the really textural chair that he's sitting on, you can almost feel that texture and reach out and touch it. Then you get the beautiful narrative details. So I'm guessing they've probably used a creative category to provide us with the sharpness required that we can actually almost read the vowels that he has there on his phone. And that gives so much to the moment, to be able to read those. And also when the couple have this image later on, that they can look back on that as well and get so much depth from the image in terms of that. The light is placed beautifully in terms of lighting up his face and just having that really soft light coming down. You've got the light on the phone that pulls you in there. I can see that potentially going in two ways with some of the panelists. And then the light on her fingers touching the railing there kind of pulls you up to the top of the frame, and you just notice this really kind of cheeky, kind of cropped off face. And it kind of gives it a bit of mystery as well. And I think there's emotional intensity there as well, because having been in a similar situation, it's very emotionally draining to be reflecting on your vows and be getting ready for this moment, even if perhaps it may be a reenactment afterwards, but it feels like the feeling is there. So I'd be interested to talk about it.
Brilliant. Thanks, Matt. Gemma, you're on the other end of the scale.
Sorry, yeah, I was taking myself off mute then for a second. Looking at the way that Matt has described it, one of the things that was holding me back slightly was the brightness of the phone. And I think if other judges was like me, you go straight to the phone and see if you could read what was on the on there. The narrative to this image is good. The other kind of distracting thing was that head being cut off, and that it's slightly a little bit less sharp than the rest of the image. The overall image is very sharp, and I understand that there is a slight depth of field, but I think maybe a bit more sharpness around that face, or a little bit more space, or maybe her face didn't really need to be in the image. But I'll reconsider my scores.
Excellent. Thanks, Gemma. We're going to go to Johan.
Great. There's a lot of wonderful little things happening here. The fact that I don't want to talk about a cultural side here, but as a groom, he's kind of asleep almost. Obviously awake enough to keep holding his phone, which, and the last words on the phone are, "I will walk with you." Her dress sits entirely over his form, more or less. So she's got him covered. Her hand is on a post that leads down to his feet. So there's this circle that goes round. There's a knowingness, and just the feel of her lips, the way she has them pursed, it feels like she knows stuff. And there's a lot of information here, so it's not just a graphic, it's a detail, and it's a beautiful detail of how their life could be. I gave it an 88, and I'm happy to bounce up to a gold, actually.
Brilliant. Thanks, Johan. Katrina, can I get a comment from you, please?
Yes, you can, Chris. I'm glad we're talking about this, because I'm not at gold. I've currently scored at 83, so I'm in the silver range, for the reasons that have been discussed. So it's, as you said, Matt, like it's beautifully treated, and the precision and sharpness and all those sorts of things. What I'm having a lot of trouble with in this particular image, aside from that, what feels very unnatural highlight wash sort of over and around the phone. I think that's totally unnecessary treatment-wise. The phone on its own would have been bright enough, for us to get the fact that it's a phone and it's got the speech on it there. But what my major issue is actually the sort of incongruence between his vows, which we are supposed to be able to see. He says he's the luckiest man ever. He wants to spend his life, walking the earth with this woman. He'll be her strength when she's weak. And I just don't see that. He's not acting what he's saying. So on a wedding day, I don't know, that I'm not getting wedding vibes aside from the fact that they are dressed as a bride and groom. That's my main bugbear. And also I'm just wondering about why are we cropped so tightly across her face, just above her nostrils there? That's feeling quite uncomfortable to me. Had she been laughing, like had she come down the stairs and, going, oh God, here he is again doing this does this stuff all the time, it would have worked for me. But I'm not quite sure why we've got these beautiful vows and then this moment that's quite disjointed.
Excellent. Thanks, Kat. Matt, let's go back to you for a writer reply.
All right. Well, I'll just get it out of the way. I do agree with you on the lighting around the phone. I think the lighting actually on the ground is fairly believable in terms of the ambience that would be coming from the phone screen, but not so much the light on the back wall behind him there. But then that is a fairly minor detail compared to all of the narrative that's been provided in this image. I actually think she is kind of, I wouldn't say openly laughing, but there is something about her lips that give you the impression that she knows, like, this is something that she understands in some kind of sense as a couple. And I think either he's just taking a moment to relax, or he's tired from internalizing these vows and working on them perhaps on his phone or whatever. And so I don't think this is really contradictory to the vows that he's making. I just think making those vows takes a lot of energy. And really, if you're putting yourself into what you want to say to your future life partner, then yeah, I can understand wanting to take a bit of a rest, and her kind of sneaking down the stairs and going, oh, there he is. And so I think it's a really beautiful moment. I think that's exactly why the crop is across her face where it is. It just gives you just enough information to get that kind of emotional response from her to him without giving the whole thing away. I just think there's a little bit of cheekiness to it, and I think it's been handled beautifully. So I know that there's mainly contention on the light on the phone. Everything else seems to be a little bit personal preference. So I'm hoping we might be able to get this up to a gold.
Excellent. Thanks, Matt. You're going to hold your score where it is, Matt. Everyone else, you're invited to rescore, please. We've moved up a couple of points to 88, silver with distinction. Congratulations to the photographer. Let's get to our next image, please. Judges, get the scores in, please. All right, and we have a score of 71. Are we all happy with that? All right, can I get a comment from, let's go to Johan, please.
Yeah. What a wonderful place to have a wedding. It's just full of options and things. I like the concept where, them being together is being embodied in his suit. I feel that the handling of it was a little bit too literal, and there's no room for the dreaminess of the moment or the opportunity, so a bit more fading out to the edges of the suit rather than having the suit be a screen for the internal image. in the internal image, it would have been so much better if the feeling of them being entirely in love was more obvious. At the moment, they're looking at the camera and they're waiting for the photographer to take the photograph. One other thing that could help to make this image better would be to not have the horizon going through the man's ears. But I like the idea, and it's worth pursuing it to get it stronger and better and perhaps a bit more subtle. Yeah.
All right, thanks, Johan. Katrina, do you have a quick comment to add?
I do, a very quick one, just to encourage the photographer to maybe have a try at this double exposure technique in camera. Give it a go. It looks like you've definitely got some ideas there, so explore that, in camera. See how you go.
Awesome, thanks, Kat. Can we get our next image, please? All right, we have an 82 silver award. Congratulations to the photographer for that one. Can I get a comment from Matt, please?
Sure. So I think that the photographers really beautifully balanced the different light sources in the scene and also added their own light to draw out the couple within the chapel there. They've also used a long exposure, which you can see in the movement of the stars, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think that shows that they're combining a lot of different techniques here. In terms of improvement, I think the chapel itself is almost like a character in the scene, and you've got red tree, green tree, blue tree, purple tree. They're kind of dancing around this chapel. So it might be nice to give them a little bit more space below the chapel just to bring that up into the frame and make that a real, like, to highlight that centerpiece, to give it a little bit more space. And also the couple, it may be the backlighting is giving them that kind of crisp whiteness around the edges, but it does feel a little bit cut out compared to some of the other elements in the chapel there. So that could be something that you could potentially tweak in post-production just a little bit. But overall, it's beautifully shot.
Brilliant. Thank you, Matt. Now, at home, if you're looking at your screen and going, this is image number 22 out of 22, we do have a little bug with our image numbering. There are actually still some more images left, so don't panic if your image hasn't shown up yet. We're going to do a little bit of a judge change as well. So, Christopher, we're going to bring you back on. And Johan, we're going to give you a little break. And Naomi, thank you for your service. And Vicky, we're going to bring you back on. And Daniel, if we could get our next image, please. All right, and we have a 79, highly commended. Kat, could I? You're right
Sorry,
on the
Chris,
average.
I couldn't get to my mute button quick enough. Can I do a challenge?
Oh, you're on 82, Gemma. You need to be 5 points away to do a challenge.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, but Kat, can I get a comment from you, please?
Yes, you can, Chris. Yeah, this image has a lot of potential, so definitely encourage the photographer to keep working with this, explore this concept further in this technique. What really held it back for me is all the little details, all the white specks, the whatever they are on the tennis court, leaves and such. Because they're there and because they're all duplicated, it just immediately makes it very obvious that that's been flipped and duplicated. So that sort of pulled me out of sort of really investing into this moment. But certainly the graphic design is beautiful and it's a fun concept. So please don't be disheartened. Keep going and just work at really refining what you've already got, because this has absolute potential, and with some small tweaks, you could certainly elevate it further.
Excellent. Thanks, Kat. Can we get our next image, please? We have an 82 silver award. Congratulations to the photographer. Christopher, can I get a comment from you, please?
Yes, I mean, I love your aesthetic. It's almost cold, cruel. But the biggest issue I have, and if I was to take that couple and put them in the studio, it'd be very obvious it's a mistake. He's getting all the lighting. She's in the shadow. She should be getting it. His head's tilted the wrong way. Her head's behind his. So that's why it's happening. If you tilted the heads the other way, so his head went away from the near shoulder, her head came towards, she would get the lighting that's now adorning his bald skull. So you're really good at your lighting. I mean, let's face it, there's almost no fall off of light from your spotlight, but head detail, that was the only thing that let it down.
Excellent. Really good advice there. Thanks, Christopher. Can we get our next image, please? All right. We have a score of 78. Highly commended. Are we all happy with that? Excellent. Can I get a comment? Let's get a comment from Gemma, please.
Look, I really I like this image. I feel that there's some elements on this that could bring it up when you look at the bride and groom in closer detail. The backlighting of that kind of takes away some of the edge of the bride's face, so you can see a little bit of detail, but where it's not pin sharp, it gives the impression that it's getting washed out. And I feel like if the bride was moved forward a little bit more into the center of that archway, that would have led a little bit more into this image. But it's a good effort. It's really good. I enjoy it.
Excellent. Thanks, Gemma. And I believe that was our final image of the category. So if we can get a blank screen, please, that'd be amazing. Thanks, everyone. Thanks to all of our judges for their really hard work tonight. A great way to start the Australian Photographic Prize live judging for 2025. I need to do a really quick shout out to some of our sponsors as well. I'm going to start with Photographic Studies College in Melbourne, who are giving out a prize of $1,500 worth of a scholarship to a high school student entrant, which is pretty spectacular. The print shop at PSC is giving a $500 print consultation and print package to the student of the year who has wins the Student of the Year prize. So that's 2 A1 prints and a print consultation. Massive thanks, of course, to Azo, who's sponsoring the creative division, and the winner of the Australian winner of the wedding creative category will be in the running to win a monitor worth over $2,500. And then again, massive thanks to Nikon, our main sponsor, who the overall winner of the Australian Photographic Prize is going to win $5,000 worth of camera from Nikon. So once again, thanks everyone. Thanks judges. I hope you all have a good night. And over to you, Robin.
Thank you, Chris. Well, that concludes the live judging of the Wedding Creative category for the 2025 Australian Photographic Prize. A huge thank you to our judging panel and panel mentor for your incredibly thoughtful and passionate critiques. And to all of our entrants, thank you so much. Your work continues to inspire and challenge the photographic community. To our technical crew, everyone behind the scenes, thank you so much for making this possible. And to our amazing sponsors, Nikon, Azo, KL, Godox, and Ilford. We really appreciate your contributions. And of course, you, our audience, for joining us and supporting this celebration of creativity. We hope you've enjoyed the behind the scenes experience and learnt something along the way, whether it's about composition, story, lighting, or the ever-evolving standards of professional image making. Don't forget, the winners of this category will be revealed in our live awards presentation next Sunday. So mark your calendars, make sure you tune in. Until then, keep creating, keep sharing, and stay inspired. Good night and thank you from the Australian Photographic team.
Wow, photographing the way I do, but with my colors, this will change everything.
I got to see each frame, each position of its wing, and they're so beautiful that I have never seen before.
Being able to move quickly and working at my brain's pace and getting those shots in the moment. Having this camera allows you to go out and create the way you want to create.
Until you use it, you cannot even imagine what you have missed.
It's something I've never seen before in my entire life. It's something totally different.
Nikon Z6 III. Outperform.
Introducing ISO Color Edge. Precision is essential for any professional working with images. Whether you're an artist, a retoucher, or a visual effects specialist, you need to know that what you see at the start of a project is precisely what you'll get at the end. Color Edge monitors give consistent, reliable accuracy that guarantee no surprises within your color workflow. So what you see in real life is what you see on screen, and what you see on screen is what you see in real life. That's precisely why professionals all over the world trust ISO Color Edge for their image creation. ISO Color Edge. Discover living, breathing color.